Sounds good.
Awesome. So, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm actually really excited, as you can see, to present this project that we have built, like with my team and with a fellow designer at Flux, like a fellow student at Flux. She did the design, and we'll go into like the specifics of the project. But just to give a like a rough agenda, we'll talk about. I'll just quickly talk about what Slater is, at least from my perspective, and like as a user, been using it. Also, a little bit about the project overall, and then we'll go into building like a little thing with Slater and connecting it to Webflow, like just like a short experiment we can do together, and then at the end we can have any QA and just chill and talk about anything. So Slatter, the way I see it, it's also in it's in the manifesto on the homepage. If you go to slatter.app, it's a bridge between visual development, what we have in our case, it's Webflow. We've been using it to visually develop things, but we also have custom code on the other end. So like traditional development. And quite often, actually for us, we are using custom code for every single new project that we are doing in Webflow, because we just want to add sometimes extra functionality, or if it's about the CMS, anything. It's often we are using custom code, and Slatter is about where you touch that code and where you host it and how you do that, how you write that code, and how you serve it to your website. So it helps with basically streamlining the whole process from how you build. Well, you build it visually, you build your project visually, and then you use Slatter to add that extra functionality, but in a very streamlined way. I hope I didn't butcher the whole thing. That's like how I envision it, and I'm pretty sure there will be way more things coming. But for now, we have a kind of like a visual development that is tied. Like a similar to traditional development area that is tied to AI. So you can directly ask AI, get the code, and paste it in. I'll screen share in a second and show you that, and then we go about the project, just so you have an idea about what Slatter look like if you don't know. So sharing my entire screen. Here we go. Guys, let me know if you can see my screen all right. Yeah, all right. So just a rough idea. We have like something that is very traditional looking here, like where you write code, but it's very comfortable for developers, this area. And next to that, we have AI, where we can actually type what we want. We'll get into that in a few minutes, and then get the code or explain the code, and etc. Everything about code. All right, so next I will showcase the project, what we have, maybe show a little bit of the animations here and there, and then we go with the experiment. So as you see, we have a loading animation. It's a church website. As I mentioned, it was designed by a fellow student, and also mostly developed, kudos to my developer Ali, mostly developed by Ali. So if we scroll, we see here we have some text animations that are GSAP animations, and then scroll a little bit more, we have this love in action animation that is actually native Webflow. Sometimes native Webflow is just the way to go because it's much easier. Then we have this custom slider that is, the content for here is served from the CMS, so it's tied to the CMS. We have this ticker. We have a super custom menu with like fully animated. And a very nice thing about it, this is the first time I talk about it, is like it's a very simple one, but you can close it with pressing escape key on your keyboard. So this is great for accessibility. You have that functionality by default if you use the Webflow navigation, but you don't have it when you build a custom menu yourself. We also have this contact button, which is just a contact form, a very fancy one, and that one has that too. You can close it using escape key or just clicking out of the box. It's just great for accessibility. Just want to mention that. If we go to the menu and to the pages, you see, just for example, here we have a page transition that is it's unified for every single page, but it looks the same. It's just the last word that is different, like the destination. That's also using some custom code, and here we have some stackable cards. And I just encourage you to go to the website. I'm sure we will have the links somewhere, so you can experience it yourself in all glory, 60 frame per second animations, and not, through screen share. It's always a little bit, it's not as smooth. Just to show you another page, you see it, plays the same animation, but with the title, and it's very subtle. We wanted for this project for the animations to be very smooth, very welcoming, because, at the end, it's a church website. It has to be really welcoming and warm and home-like, and that's what we try to do also with the animations. And in some places, we have, let's go to Connect, for example, we have some other pieces of custom code to add just a little bit more. So, for example, here, for these cards, you see that we have them actually draggable. And when we hover over them, the mouse cursor changes. But as I click down, the change in the cursor stays. And when I let it go, it goes back to the unhover. So we'll get into that in a second as well. So just so you get a rough feeling about what the project is about. Just another page with just more animations, and in some places there are just unique, here we have another slider that is also custom. The colors, the text, everything is coming from the Webflow CMS, but the slider is not a Webflow slider because, as you see, we can grab it and drag it around. That's why we use a custom slider there. All right. Yeah, that's the project. If you actually have a question, you can note it down. We'll get into answering them, but I guess for now I'll just show you an example of, I'll show you overall how we are using Slater for this project, and then we'll go into, doing it in action. So if I go to the Slater project, I can actually, from here, or maybe should I go to the projects, to the overview. So if we go to projects here, you see we have multiple projects. For this website that is called Soul Church, we have this version, and here I can click, and inside we have pages, and inside of each page we can have any custom code that we want, any amount of custom code that we want. Because when I say amount, because Webflow has a limitation about 10,000 characters, if I'm not wrong, and you can run out of characters very quickly if you add anything like special. So this is a great place to, add as much code as you want without hitting that limitation. So here we have a page called Global, and this is where we have the code that we use everywhere in the project, just similar to, the global place where you put your code in Webflow. Here we also have a page. That's how we are using it. You can let me know if we can also improve here. We are certainly experimenting with some stuff. But yeah, for example, for the page transitions, we need the code everywhere. So we have the code, that's why, on a global page. And then when you add the code there, you can have the script for that code and then paste that into your Webflow project. And that's basically it for linking them, for linking your code that is sitting here in the development environment, and linking that to your visual development environment, which is Webflow. So you just basically copy this into your Webflow project and you're good to go. So when you do that, these two pieces are connected, like it's like a bridge between them. And the really great thing about it is that every time that you change something in the code, we'll see it in a second, you don't have to republish your entire Webflow website in order to see those changes. Here you just press Command S or Control S, and the code is saved and you can immediately see the changes. So yeah, we have a bunch of like global code here, but also for some sliders that are not used everywhere, we have them like in a specific page. So we are essentially having these like kind of like folders to separate the code depending on where we are serving the code. So the hero slider, the horizontal sliders that you've seen before that I showed you, we have the Vimeo video player and the draggable images. So just as a rough idea here. So about the draggable images, we can actually go into this and try to recreate this from scratch. So I'm actually going to remove the code entirely. So we have this page, and the script for this page is already linked to our Webflow project that is here. And you see here we have these, images in Webflow just as you would normally have them. The only important thing here is we have this class called draggable. Let me just maybe zoom in a little bit. We have draggable image parent. That's how we know this element, and we are going to ask the Slater AI to help us write some code to make this image draggable. That's how we would approach it. So we go back to Slater, and here we can just use plain English. As you can hear, English is not even my first language, so and you don't have to be really good at it. I talk to AI as if I were like a toddler, barely speaking English, and it still understands me just well. So no worries about that. So I would just say write jQuery code to make an element with the class of let's paste the name of the class, draggable image parent, draggable, right? And I'm just going to chat with Slater.
Let me give you guys a quick Easter egg on this. So the default is ChatGPT 3.5. If you do 4.0 in the prompt, we'll actually send the results as a GPT-4 response. So if you find that 3.5 is not doing it for you, try dropping a 4.0 in there, and it should work.
Yeah, awesome. Well, in our case, it should probably work. So I'm not going to copy the code here. I'm going to actually save the project without the code and just reload that page. So we have the connect page, I believe. That's where we have it, just to show you that it's not going to work immediately without us needing to touch the Webflow project or like try to publish it. So if we try to drag, you see I cannot drag them. The functionality is gone. And even like the click and hold is also not working anymore. So I'll go back to Slater, the code, we can just select it, and I can actually drag and drop it, or just copy and paste it. Now that we have that, I'm going to save it, go back to the page and reload the page. And now it should work. It's that easy. It's working. So it's great that you can just chat with it and simply add, functionality. And that's basically the gist of it. Anything else is just adding more complexity, but it's this doing the same thing. So like we can also go here and say we want to toggle a class, so the way we have it set up previously to work. So the way so we have this draggable image parent, we can remove this class, and just directly on the main class we can add this change cursor, and with the change cursor basically combo class we can here add a transform. So let me let's decrease this to just to see it better. So with the change cursor, we are going to change the cursor from grab to grabbing. So that's the difference from grab to grabbing. To change that, and also to scale down the image a little bit. And the way it works, or supposed to work, we're going to find out, is when you just have the draggable image parent class, we don't have any image scale down, and the cursor effect is on grab. But when we add that combo class to it, you see it changes to grabbing and also scales down the image. So the idea is to, when you click on an image and hold the click down, the idea is to, as long as you have the mouse click down, to have that change cursor class applied to that element. And the moment you want to also remove it when the user stops clicking. So like let the element go, you also want to remove the class. So that is basically toggling a class. That's how we would say it. And the way I have it here set up, I actually have the prompt that I use just so I can add it shortly. I want to toggle a class called change cursor when the user click on an element called draggable image parent. And yeah, we're going to chat with it, and it says, let's have it finished, and then we can look at the code. And it's actually really simple. So I'm just going to paste the code here. It says when this element on mouse down, when the mouse click, run this function, which is add this class. And whenever the mouse is up, then remove this class. It could be actually a toggle, but for some reason it's giving me mouse down and mouse up. We could have this code even simpler as a toggle, but this should just work as just fine. So I'm going to save it and reload the project. And here we go. It worked on the first try. Well, I tried it before. We built this already, but nevertheless, nothing broke. So you see it's working, and even I don't know how good you can see it through the screen sharing, but the scale down and scale up animation is very smooth, and it has a transition. Actually, it's not suddenly scaling down or scaling up. The reason for that, it's set up actually in Webflow on the draggable image parent. We have a transition for transform. So we are saying if the transform happen on this, use this transition animation, and it could be longer. And yeah, you can change all of those here in Webflow directly. So the animation is kind of done here, It's just the code doing the toggling the class on and off. Yeah. So yeah, this was like a simple example. We also had this we have this already for the escape key when the user presses escape when the menu is opened, then with an escape pressing the key it closes the menu, and the way it works, the way you would talk to the code, or at least the way we did it, we said look for the combo class if it's applied to that element. So we say when this element is clicked, apply a combo class, and then we say look for that combo class. If it's applied, then remove it and click that element. So the escape key is actually, when I press it, it knows that, oh, that combo class is there, so let me remove it and press menu to close it. And that's how we are doing that. Yeah. So I think this is it basically. If you have any questions, I'll be just happy to answer them.
Really cool to see. Good work on that. So draggable, I guess, is that just built into the regular version of jQuery?
I guess so, because it's working. I did not know, I didn't know it either, but as you see, we removed it entirely and added it, and it's just like draggable as a function. And actually, it's a good question. Let's just ask AI. So I'm just going to highlight .draggable, or we can do like the entire thing, but I'm just going to highlight this maybe and ask it to explain code. So it says method is a jQuery UI method. So yeah, that makes an element draggable. So it's built in. Cool.
Yeah, I guess that I didn't know that Webflow had jQuery UI in the bundle, but I'm guessing it's coming from Webflow if you didn't put it anywhere else.
I'm not sure if we have it anywhere else. No, I don't think we have a jQuery bundle, like separate bundle. Webflow loads jQuery by default, but is jQuery UI something else?
Yeah, it's like it's a subset. Like you usually have to include so jQuery is like the base, and then jQuery UI is like a bunch of kind of cool methods that allow you to do more.
Cool.
So potentially Webflow's using it. I'll take a quick look at the site and see if I can find the jQuery UI tag.
Cool. I'll just send the site URL as well here, just in case. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any other references to it, so it must be just bundled with Webflow, which is cool.
Cool. Well, yeah, we use that explain code as well. So, and if you have an error in the code, or if if it's not working, you can just use debug code, or just chat with the AI, which is great. It's all in one place.
So I'm curious, are you guys implementing Slater across like your whole team? You said that you and Ali did like a lot of the development on this site. So are you
Yeah.
guys able to have different team members?
Yeah, so here we have team, you see it's also all created by Ali actually. And he gave me access, like edit access, separately. So yeah, we have teams here. I don't know if yeah, here you see we can have teams, and I can invite team members, and it just works great. One thing we noticed here, because this project wasn't created by me, I Ali had to give me access to each individual page separately, which I assume it's just, the beginning of this. Probably sometime down the road, you will
Yeah.
have, yeah, that on a project level. There is also this libraries that are still under development, and I'm actually really excited for these. So the way I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, um, we can basically save code that we are going to reuse somewhere else, and this is like great because we are also using, as I mentioned, GSAP for some of the text animations because it's just so much easier. We use GSAP, and what is the name of that? There is a library to separate the words and the letters and the lines. It does it dynamically. Like imagine you can create a library for that. It's just reusable code component that you can apply across your site. So yeah, that would be also really cool.
Yeah, so a couple comments. So I did find jQuery UI on that page that you did send over. So your partner must have added it. Um,
Yeah.
and if you go back into your project, we do have a place to add external code. So if you click on that gear icon
Where
um,
to
on the so over on the pages nav, the gear icon. Yeah, right there.
external. Yeah.
Yeah, that external script. So you could add that jQuery UI there. Uh, of course,
I
adding
see.
it directly to the project works as well. Um, that's a little bit rough still. We need to kind of tweak or improve the UX on that. And to the point about the library, also a feature we know that we need to like riff on further. It's got some basic stuff that works there, but not fully baked yet. And love to get the feedback. So like I've taken a note for the project level access. It's a good thought. We'll add that to the product roadmap. As you run into other things, let me know. We would love to get the feedback. Right now, we're pretty close to like what we think is baked enough V1. Um, but like I think what's missing is just a little polish on the UX. We would love to have the learn module. Like it's streaming now, which is nice, but it's been difficult to like get a really good experience around streaming and then also posting the code like in the editor. So it's better now, but it's not 100% there yet. But yeah, keep sending us things that you'd like to see in Slater, and we'll definitely work on that. Slater's gone to the background a little bit in the last couple weeks because I've been really full time on this other project that we're doing. Unfortunately, we're still a service shop, and so we got to service our customers. But that finished up yesterday, and so I should have more time to get into Slater.
Yeah, cool. Well, for sure, I'm in Slack and I will shoot some feedback there as well. For now, I think the experience here in the learn, especially like how the chat is showing here, and sometimes the code area is not like you don't have enough place sometimes to read it entirely. Um, just a little bit this, but these are very minor, small changes. I, for example, really like the idea that you can close the conversations. I really like this idea. It just gives a cleaner, better overall view here. So
For using the workflow with Slater, do you, at the end of a project, transfer all that code into Webflow, or do you leave it in the app for the live
no,
production?
we leave it in the app. It's all served even for the client website from Slatter. It's a lot of pain to do code management in Webflow. It's really painful.
Yeah, I want to second that. That's a big reason why we built Slater is we like I would be working with one of the Edgar Allan devs, and it would just be like go to Code Sandbox, post some stuff, then push it into the project. Oh, we've got this bug or this other improvement we need to make. Move it back over to Code Sandbox, make those updates. And so what Slater does is it allows you to just leave that script in there. There's two scripts you'll notice. One is for development, and that's being run off of the server. So if Slater goes down, that script will go down. But if you push to production, that creates that script on an S3 bucket, which is extremely resilient. So I'm sure it can go down, but it's like AWS has gone down and the entire internet's a little bit broken. So
Yeah. Yeah, we were also using Code Sandbox just for a few months prior to Slater. So it's not like we didn't have years of experience with it. We were just like starting to grow out of, the small code window in Webflow and bringing things to a more serious development platform. But yeah, it was also a pain there with team and sharing code and things like that. It's just much better here. And with the AI, again, I'm not a JavaScript developer. I just have the very basic understandings of, what is a function, how to, create very simple things. And I don't write really a JavaScript myself. I just use AI and I understand enough to play around with it. And for that reason, it's really great. It's kind of a perfect fit. Understanding enough code to ask AI to do something, because it's much, you can get much further when you have like a really rough understanding of code. If you know nothing about it, you can still here ask AI and let it write something for you. But if you know the very basic understandings, you can do much more crazy stuff. One thing that we are playing around with it, maybe in a month or two, I'll be able to present that one. We did like a lot of animation. Let me show you the project, the way right now is, and the issue with it.
Yeah.
So, for example, we have this project. It's finished, but this project lies really close to my heart, and I want to just see it get better. That's why we want to do this to improve its SEO. And here's what I mean. So, for example, here you see we have this background color on the text, and you see it's cut off. We are using some custom CSS to calculate that, and just using CSS calc. But the issue here is we have 3 H1s. So this is not one H1, this is like 3 separate H1s, which is, it's having 3 H1s is not necessarily really bad for SEO nowadays, but having a sentence made with 3 elements is not really great for accessibility. So what I'm currently experimenting, and I have it almost working, it's that we can have these in separate lines in using one element, and we are like having 3 lines, and in each line we inject a div block in it, and that div block is styled in Webflow with the z-index and everything and animations, and we are basically doing that half of it in Webflow and the other half just using code to say, okay, we have 3 lines, let's put 3 div blocks to, like, not 3 div blocks, it doesn't count it just looks into the element, the H1 element, and it says how many classes there are for each, create a div block in it, and with that background color, and then one on top. And just animated on page load, just like as you saw it. So it would be recreating old animations, but using AI and Slater and, with a little bit of code.
Yeah, I can't stop talking about like how useful AI is in my job. I've been developing for 10 plus years. I'm not a trained developer, so it's always been kind of a just I've been like spending all the time in the docs and in Stack Overflow, and there was always kind of questions that I didn't fully understand. But now, like with OpenAI and ChatGPT and Slater, it's incredible. Like I can understand kind of really nichey things that the answer before was really difficult to find. So if you're not using AI every day, start using it every day because it's an incredible boon.
Definitely. Like if somebody is not using AI, to me it feels like they are not using Google or, internet in general. It's incredible. Like for this example, what I was trying to say regarding how much understanding you need, just for example, here I just know that there is something called append. It just, creating something out of nowhere in using JavaScript and putting it somewhere on the page. And that's been my keyword here, like append that div with that class there. Very, very plain, simple English, and it does an incredible job doing it, and then using even libraries like GSAP to animate it. It like using AI, it just allows me to create animations in GSAP, and I'm like, okay, I need easing between the staggers as well, and it just adds it. It's just that you have to have that basic understandings of, for example, there is such a possibility as append to do something like that, or you just have to have the understanding of what is easing, where do you need it, and when you have that, when you know that, you also feel it that you need it there or there, and you can just ask AI to do it for you, and that's basically how we are building projects nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how you guys incorporated AI into the actual product. Like it seems just really seamless, not only to get it to like write, but I love the explain code and the debug code option as well. Kind of an aside to AI, did I see that there was like some type of commit to Git or some Git repository management stuff built in? Oh, yeah. Okay, I thought I did. That's cool.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's all in there. It's not totally baked, I'll admit. We the challenge we have is like how do you manage teams around Git? Because if you connect as the Git user, um, it will sync up with Git. But if your team member is not on that project, then they're unable to see that in GitHub. So like you have to manage the team users within GitHub and also within Slater. And so we still need to kind of work through that, but it's working at least for the initial user who creates that GitHub account.
No, that's cool. It's cool you're already thinking about that anyways. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and we probably should pull it back into the app where we have been thinking about like versions. So it gets quite complex as to how we want to implement that. Obviously, Webflow has something, and I don't know how you guys feel about Webflow's versions. It's nice to know it's in there. Um, feels not totally baked either.
Versions, you mean with the backups, or do you mean the
Yeah, backups. Yeah.
and the backups? In our experience, it has happened twice actually for two client projects where the backup failed loading. and we had to contact customer support, and they've been like really fast and amazing in responding, but it has happened that the backup system has failed loading and we could not open the site in the Webflow designer at all, so we had to email them, and they have send us a version of the website from that backup. They can create a version out of a backup. So yeah, that's why since the last time it happened, what we are doing for like more serious, bigger projects that we know we might break something, we are doing manual duplication. So we have a folder that is just for backups. It's just like client website backups. Sometimes we have a few, and when we get into their environment, because sometimes we are working from their workspace, we do that for them as well. We create just a simple folder and just duplicate every now and then if we have to do some heavy edits.
Well, this has been great. Appreciate you showing that. It's rewarding for me to see Slater get used and improving workflows for you guys. I come from this as a developer who's coming into Webflow, and so I recognize kind of the experiences as a regular developer that Webflow doesn't yet support. So where I need to meet you guys is like, if you're coming from a Webflow world into more development, where's the missing connections? And of course we have a lot of Webflow developers on the team, so they're helping me with that as well. But yeah, always love to get feedback.
Well, good question. I'm also thinking, Jack, you have something to add?
I was just going to say massive, massive thanks. It's really cool to see, as someone that's not a coder and is very involved in Slater, it's like really interesting to see how people are out there using Slater in real use cases, um, and actually just applying the tool to client projects and all sorts of different things that people are making. So yeah, massive thanks for just coming on and showing us what you're up to. It's so cool. And please, if anyone does try out Slater and use it in a client project or whatever, if you're a little bit shy about doing like a spotlight session or whatever, totally cool. We get that not everyone is like, up for doing this type of thing. But if you just want to, Jared and me and the rest of the guys that are like, oh my, say, hey, like, I just made this with Slater and send a screenshot or whatever. It means the world. God, people are actually using this.
Yeah, and you may or may not know, every Wednesday we have office hours where I just go over some concept within JavaScript.
If anyone doesn't have a
I would
code,
love
I know Chris is
ideas for content. So if there's anything you want to learn with JavaScript, let me know.
Have access and access.
And we will also this Wednesday talk about how I and Edgar Allan balance client work with
I'm really excited
the products we want to build in the world.
Yeah. Count Keegan and I in. We're always interested in that.
Yeah, it's tough. I've done it my entire career, honestly, and I've got some answers, but missing other ones.
Yeah. Totally understand. Yeah, really appreciate you guys walking through all this and showing some of those projects. I mean, it's cool to see how the tool's being used and leveraged for, especially that more ambitious one you're working on, Mirror Mirror. That one looked just incredible. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will share this project as well, just so you you can have a look at it. It's launched and everything. We're finished with the project, but again, it's a very close to my heart project that we want to improve. And the next project that I'm actually like, we're going to bring all the code to Slater is again another client website that is finished. I haven't shared anything about it, and you'll see custom code right on the hero section. That's the next one we want to basically port to Slater and continue building on it because the client they want new pages. So as you see here, we have this kind of like 3D. It's actually 3D. It's using 3JS. It's a library, and I just played hours without end with the numbers and the mathematics of it without understanding any of it, just to create a shape that they wanted. And every time you reload the page, you see a new animation. So this type of creative coding, this is also what I want to free up some of my own time to actually do this using Slatter. So I want to be able to create all types of generative art or whatever you call it. I'm pretty sure it's much easier using AI. So that's what I want to do next.
Yeah, I would love to see what you're doing there. I've been playing around with it. Maybe you've seen in the Slack channels. I've posted a few things that I've done. But I would love 3JS. We did a lot of 3JS work on our little Edgar game. I don't know if you saw that, but I
Yeah.
wasn't that involved in like the actual development of that. So um, I would love to learn more about kind of what generative art you can make with that. What I've been trying to do more with is PS5. So that's another place to look. And people do
Yeah.
really cool stuff with it. The docs, um, it's cool what they do, but yeah, you need that spark of creativity at the same time to make
Yeah,
something unique.
definitely. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you. Good seeing everyone. Let's do it again.
You all. Yeah.
Okay. See you guys.
See you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good
Yeah,
one.
thank you.
You
Bye.
too. Bye bye. You are muted, Jack, by the way. Okay, but should I send you the project if the recording?